I've played all 14 mainline Assassin's Creed games. What have you done with your life? Once I got through all of that bloodshed and the dust settled on this alternate history, I was left feeling like there are only two truly good Assassin's Creed games. But which two? You'll have to stay with me to find out.
Face the invisible, the impossible, the unspeakable. Welcome to the greatest playground, history.
Hi, I'm Greg, and this is Castro on Culture, where I talk about whatever I want. And this week is the first week I've wanted to talk about a video game. With Black Flag resynced on the horizon, I figured now was as good as a time as any to pay off all of those hours I've spent doing Ubisoft's endless collectibles hunting. Obviously, minor spoilers are ahead for a bunch of games that have been out for years, so pull up your hoods and let's get to it. I have a long, tortured history with the Assassin's Creed franchise. I started with the original as a kid in middle school, which, if you're a fan, you know it's ironically not a great place to start. The first Assassin's Creed, known to true fans as El Uno, is visually dull and extremely plodding in its gameplay. Ride your ugly brown horse through ugly brown desert to reach ugly brown city. The assassinations aren't anything too memorable or creative, and the plot is a fairly predictable mentor betrays you story. The game is even sacrilegious, which nowadays I appreciate, but back then when I was a good Christian boy, I was offended. So at that age, I was done with this franchise already. If I only knew what lay ahead of me. By the time Assassin's Creed 2 came around, I was busy playing Mass Effect, Fallout, and Red Dead Redemption. I'm biased, but 2008 to 2011 was the greatest run of video games ever. I saw the great reviews for Assassin's Creed 2, but I was a teen with limited cash. I could only buy so many games, and Assassin's Creed had already let me down once. I couldn't bring myself to give it another chance. It wasn't until years later, literally last year in 2025, that I finally decided to play what had, of course, by that point come to be known as the Ezio trilogy. This motherfucker got 3 games, and I was ready to find out why. And even today, I can definitely see the improvements. Ezio has much more personality than Altair, Renaissance Italy is much prettier than medieval Jerusalem, and there is much more gameplay variety. Plus, you get to fight a super pope. That being said, there are still what I've come to call Ubiisms in these games. Things like lack of consequence for stealth, since you can always just parry murder your way to safety, and a story that moves too fast and jumps around a lot. Of the 3, I found Assassin's Creed 2 dated but fun. I found Brotherhood to be the most fun with its city takeover mechanic, although the story was worse than 2. And I didn't like Revelations much at all. Ezio is a sexy boy, and I don't want to see him old and sad. And it seems like a mistake to take him to Constantinople, where he doesn't have his friends and family to bounce off of. So, for me, the Ezio trilogy is pretty flawed, but it clearly paved the way for better games. I think the neighborhood takeover mechanic and Brotherhood in particular will come to define the best Assassin's Creed games down the road. I've already driven some of you to madness with that take, but wait, I can drive you even crazier, because the next Assassin's Creed 3, I did play that one at release. That's right, as a teen, I skipped the Ezio trilogy, but when I heard the next game was taking place during the American Revolution, I decided to get back on board. I always liked American history and was excited for a game set during that time. But boy oh boy, the franchise burned me again. This game is so boring. Colonial Boston is not a good Assassin's Creed game setting. It's back to brown. The architecture is simple, and there isn't a good archetypal vibe. Being an assassin in Rome is a thing. Colonial Boston, not so much. The story is more meandering than ever. We're back to a stoic protagonist, and the little bit of sailing gameplay is not interesting enough to make up for all the cool features we've lost from the Ezio games. Also, we get the first totally painful collectible hunt in the series. Feathers! Enjoy your feather hunt, fans! This is more fun than taking a city back from a rival gang, right? So I was out. I was done. I was never going to allow Assassin's Creed to burn me again. Which, of course, meant that I ironically missed the first great game in the franchise, Assassin's Creed 4 Black Flag, which I also played for the first time just a year ago. Hasn't aged at all. It's not surprising they're remaking it, because with some new graphics, it will feel completely new. You wouldn't think the Caribbean would make for a great Assassin's Creed game, but turns out you really don't need tall buildings and winding streets. You just need some kind of fun gameplay, and the ship combat in Black Flag has that in spades. As soon as you settle into the gameplay loop and realize how addicting it is to sink ships to get supplies to upgrade your own ship, you'll never put the game down. Remember the neighborhood takeover mechanic from Brotherhood? Here it's forts, and you're going to take over every one of those babies as soon as you get the chance. And if you ever get bored of any of that, you've got shark hunts, whale hunts, treasure hunts, and superpowered outfit hunts to keep you busy. The story is simple, linear, and doesn't jump around a ton. Edward is a hottie and a baddie, and he stays that way from beginning to end. This is the first completely good Assassin's Creed game. And then there's Rogue and Unity. I also played these two for the first time last year, and I was looking forward to it since everyone talks up the parkour in Unity and the story in Rogue. And yes, the parkour in Black Flag frequently made me scream with rage, so it is better in Unity. But we're kind of back to Boring Town on this one. The story is so plodding, and Arno is uninteresting. The murder of his father is so representative of this. It's done by the guy from Rogue. That should be a big, cool moment, but it's just like, whoops. There are too many double crosses and murders in this one, ironically, to where it starts to feel unintentionally funny to me. Arno cannot keep a father figure alive. And honestly, I'm not a fan of the revolution being portrayed as an evil Templar plot. Was the Reign of Terror bad? Yeah. You know what else was bad? Hundreds of years of French monarchy. Rogue is better than Unity overall, but it's just worse than Black Flag in every way. Moving from the Caribbean to the north is just a big visual downgrade. It also loses that archetypal pirate feel that makes Black Flag so immersive. Shay is a sexy boy, but if we were to place him on, say, a sexy boy meter, he'd fall below Edward. The Viking outfit is not as cool as the Isu outfit. Ship combat is fun, but it started to wear thin after playing back-to-back with Black Flag. The big appeal of playing as the bad guys isn't really delivered on, just because they cheaply make the assassins more evil than ever, rather than just letting you actually be a bad guy. Like, sorry, you've done nothing but show the Templars as the most mustache-twirling evildoers for 5 games before this. You can't suddenly be like, oh, it's a morally gray conflict. You don't really break bad in Rogue, is my point. It's a missed opportunity. That brings us to Syndicate. Another modern playthrough for me, and in the interest of time, yeah, I'm going to do what everyone does and say as little as possible about this one. It's not that I hate it or anything, or that it's the worst, it's just forgettable. It wastes the Victorian setting on a one-off plot that doesn't have anything to do with the larger narrative. I think the grapple is a mistake because parkour is so intrinsic to the franchise. And I do like that we have gang warfare again, but for whatever reason, it's just not as fun as in Brotherhood or Black Flag. The Jack the Ripper DLC is fun, though. Soft reboot time! I remember being disappointed hearing that they were doing this. I hadn't played any of the games since 3, but still, I thought they would keep going into the future and do a World War II game, a Cold War game, and maybe a fully modern-day game. I'm still waiting on a Cyberpunk Assassin's Creed, folks. During this time, I was busy starting my career anyways, so I probably wouldn't have had time either way for this one. But yeah, playing it now, Origins is close to being good, but it still falls short in some key areas. The combat is better, but still has a certain lack of depth, as in the previous games. From moment 1, you can pretty much parry murder whatever the game throws at you. This is also such a Ubisoft script, in that it tells the story slightly out of order at the beginning for no real reason, so Bayek's son's death doesn't hit as hard as it could. In terms of telling the origins of the assassins, this game just doesn't deliver. Like every Assassin's Creed script, it gets really lost in the weeds. I don't know how to put it other than it's just not that mysterious or grand. Ancient Egypt was a really very alien and bizarre place compared to today, and Ubi just makes it feel like any other place they've set a game in. But that brings us to Odyssey. Oh, sorry, did I say Odyssey? I meant the greatest Assassin's Creed game of all time. That's right, folks, this is the second good Assassin's Creed game, and the best, the true MVP of all. Call me dumb, call me woke, you're dumb and closed-minded if you can't see how much better this game is than all the others. First of all, it has a completely good story from beginning to end. It has a beginning, middle, and end, which puts it ahead of most of the games. It gives you significant, hard choices that impact the plot. Cassandra has more characterization than all of the other protagonists from all of the other games combined. Almost like it's an RPG or something. Cassandra's journey to get revenge is archetypal and satisfying. Who doesn't like kicking this guy off of this cliff?
The Spartans will have my head for this. I need to get out of here.
I was always propelled through the plot playing this one. I wanted revenge. I wanted to be reunited with my mother. I wanted to kill this evil cult. The sense of exploration in this game is unparalleled. Finding the Minotaur all the way down in Crete is one of the great moments in gaming. But almost every island has a memorable story with some cool gear for you to find. And yeah, it took them 11 games, but the combat is finally good. The different weapon types add a lot of variety, and the bonuses allow for cool builds, almost like it's an RPG or something. And ship combat is back, baby. It's pared down from Black Flag since it's earlier in history, but it's still a lot of fun, especially since you can ram ships in two. This is peak. Surely the franchise could only go up from here. Oh no. Imagine it's 2020. You've just bought a PS5, but Cyberpunk doesn't come out for weeks. You want something to play, and while you swore you wouldn't play another Assassin's Creed game after 1 and 3 let you down, you do like Vikings a lot, so you figure, okay, I'll give Valhalla a try. That was me in 2020. That's right, through sheer bad luck and bad decision making, I ended up once again playing one of the worst Assassin's Creed games after skipping some of the best. That being said, Valhalla is not as bad as 1 or 3. I enjoyed it. For the first 20 hours or so. Then I realized this game never ends. And even worse, I bought the complete edition, so I felt obligated to get my money's worth and play the DLCs. Any Assassin's Creed fan knows you never play the DLCs. Sailing down the river in your boat while singing? Fun. Raiding monasteries? Fun. Doing those things for 200 hours? Less fun. And the game takes a huge step back from Odyssey when it comes to gear builds and character choices. It's much less of an RPG. That all being said, I actually did end up liking the Druids DLC and Forgotten Saga DLC. That one in particular is like a perfect mini Souls game. But this story is such Ubislop. It literally doesn't have an ending. They tried to cap it off finally with the last chapter, but they might as well have not bothered, because that's just Eivor saying goodbye to people you barely care about while his outfit glitches out, only to go all the way to Canada and not get any real answers, while we're still left to wonder how he ended up buried there. I had a lot of fun with this game, but did it waste my time a lot. And Mirage is such a weird follow-up. It's like they took the length criticism from Valhalla, but nothing else. There's just no reason to play a game that's a super pared down version of a bunch of other games. It looks nice, but setting the game in Middle Ages Baghdad is also just kind of boring when it's not that different from Middle Ages Jerusalem or Renaissance Italy or Renaissance Constantinople or even ancient Egypt. Not to diminish the differences between all these cultures, but there's basically Mediterranean Assassin's Creed games and European Assassin's Creed games, and they all start to feel samey, so you really have to do more to make a game stand out. Ubisoft's insistence on non-linear assassin missions means this storyline is as repetitive and dull as ever, and I still left it confused as to why Loki reincarnated as a guy in the Middle East and not in Scandinavia with the others. Every Assassin's Creed game feels like the movies Prometheus and Alien Covenant, where you're told it's going to be about one thing, and then it just goes on a bunch of tangents and never actually explains anything. But Shadows goes back to wasting our time, and that is even worse. It's a long slog like Valhalla, with a bunch of different boring systems that don't work well. Having the two completely different protagonists is a bad choice because it keeps any story moments from being too meaningful for either of them. And it also just stressed me out, feeling like I needed to switch between them often. I'd rather have just been a stealthy ninja the whole time. It also just doesn't have the vibes that Ghost of Tsushima and Yote do. Japan is the vibiest country on Earth. I've never enjoyed a vacation more. And the Ghost games just get that vibe better with their mini games, mainly the haikus, the hot springs, and the shamisen. The outfits and overall world design are better too, and the stories don't even compare. Once again, Assassin's Creed's story couldn't be more generic and pointless, completely hijacked by the two protagonist system, and the need to drag things out with live service elements. Tsushima and Yote have classic, archetypal revenge narratives done right. They beat Ubisoft to the samurai game punch. To wrap this up, a good Assassin's Creed game gives you a map that you can't wait to uncover. You should feel addicted to ticking off objectives, not like you're doing chores. There should be a wide variety of interesting activities that are unique to the time period, and you should have a variety of weapons that allow you to take out your enemies in violent, creative ways. Hot take: stories should be told in order, and RPGs should have choice. It's not that the other Assassin's Creed games aren't fun, but for me, Black Flag and Odyssey are the only two where all of those pieces align to create completely good games. I hope Ubisoft look back at these for inspiration in the future. The Black Flag remake seems like a good start. I know you disagree on this one, so please tell me in the comments why Rogue is actually the best because you played it in middle school and can't get over your nostalgia. And while you're down there, hit subscribe so we can keep arguing in the future. I'll see you next time.